We all know that communication is key in any relationship, whether it's with a partner, friend, or family member. But sometimes the words we say can have a greater impact than we realize, especially when it comes to men. There are certain things we say, whether intentionally or not, that can unintentionally create distance, misunderstandings, or even hurt feelings. Today, I want to talk about 5 things you should never tell a man. These are words that can make him feel unappreciated, dismissed, or misunderstood, and they're the kinds of phrases that can silently chip away at the foundation of trust and respect. Let's dive in and explore why these words should be avoided and how we can build better communication in our relationships. When you tell a man, "You're just like all the other guys," it's a comment that can sting more than we might realize. What it does is reduce him to a stereotype, stripping away his individuality and making him feel like he's no different from a generic version of men that you might be comparing him to. It's easy to forget that we all want to be seen for who we truly are, not just the labels or generalizations that others might place on us. For a man, hearing this can feel like a direct dismissal of his unique qualities, personality, and the things that make him special to you. It's not just about the words, it's about the underlying message. When you say this, you're telling him that no matter what he does or how he behaves, it's not enough. This kind of comment can make a man feel like there's no space for him to stand out or be valued for his specific contributions to the relationship. What's more, this phrase can also trigger deeper insecurities. Men, like anyone else, are sensitive to criticism, especially when it feels like their efforts are being swept aside and thrown into a broad, negative category. It creates a sense of frustration and helplessness because it undermines his desire to be recognized and appreciated for the person he is, rather than just being lumped into a general group. It's important to recognize that words have the power to shape how people see themselves, and when we take the time to acknowledge someone's individuality and value, it strengthens the connection. So, instead of using a phrase that might inadvertently diminish him, try to engage in conversations that focus on his unique traits and the things you appreciate about him. That way, you create an environment where he feels seen, understood, and genuinely valued. When you tell a man, "I don't need your help," it might seem like an empowering statement about independence, but for him, it can feel like a rejection or an invalidation of his desire to contribute. Men, in many cases, take pride in being helpful and supportive, especially in relationships. When they offer assistance, it's not always just about solving a problem. It's about showing care, demonstrating their value, and strengthening the bond between you. By telling him that you don't need his help, you might unintentionally make him feel unnecessary or unappreciated. It's not just the act of help that's being dismissed, but his effort to connect and be useful. This can leave him feeling like his place in the relationship is being undermined, or worse, that he doesn't matter to you in the way he thought he did. Men often express affection and love through actions rather than words, and by rejecting his help, you might shut down his way of showing he cares. Moreover, this comment can create an emotional barrier. Instead of having an open, collaborative approach to solving issues or navigating challenges, you're sending the message that you can handle everything on your own. While it's great to be independent, relationships thrive when both parties feel like they can rely on each other. Telling him you don't need his help might suggest that you don't trust his abilities, which can be deflating. Rather than shutting him out, consider communicating your needs clearly and express your appreciation when he offers assistance. Acknowledging that you value his input or help Whether you need it at the moment or not reinforces a sense of partnership and shared respect. After all, relationships are about mutual support, and when we allow each other to contribute, we make the connection stronger. Telling a man, "You're not man enough," is one of the most damaging things you can say to anyone, regardless of gender. This phrase attacks a man's sense of masculinity and undermines his self-esteem. Masculinity is a complex concept that many men feel pressured to live up to, and when you make such a statement, it strikes at the core of who he believes he is or should be. It doesn't just dismiss his actions or behavior, it challenges his identity and the very essence of his manhood. This kind of comment is harmful because it suggests that there's a right or wrong way to be a man, often based on rigid societal expectations. It can make a man feel inadequate, as if he's failing to meet an impossible standard of masculinity that doesn't necessarily reflect who he truly is. Instead of encouraging growth or self-improvement, it fosters feelings of shame, frustration, and insecurity. Men, like anyone, should be allowed to define themselves on their own terms, not based on an arbitrary set of rules or expectations. When you use this phrase, it also creates unnecessary tension in the relationship. Instead of having a healthy discussion about behavior, actions, or feelings, you've imposed a judgment on his worth as a man. This statement may lead him to feel defensive or worse, disconnected from you. It can even make him retreat emotionally, fearing that he's not being valued or respected for who he is. Rather than resorting to damaging comparisons, try to focus on constructive criticism that's rooted in respect, encouraging him to grow in specific areas while affirming his worth as a person will create a healthier dynamic and foster mutual understanding. Everyone deserves to feel valued for who they are, not measured against a narrow standard of enough. When you tell a man you're overreacting, you're dismissing his feelings and invalidating his emotional experience. Men, like all people, experience a wide range of emotions, and it's essential to recognize that their feelings are just as valid as anyone else's. Unfortunately, there's often societal pressure for men to suppress their emotions or only express certain types, like anger or frustration. So, when a man opens up or shows vulnerability, and you respond by saying he's overreacting, it can feel like a rejection of his emotional expression and leave him feeling unheard. What's particularly damaging about this statement is that it dismisses his perspective entirely. It implies that his feelings are exaggerated or unwarranted, which can create an emotional disconnect. Instead of fostering an open dialogue where both partners can express themselves freely, you inadvertently shut down the conversation. This can lead to a lack of emotional intimacy, as he may begin to feel that his concerns or emotions are not taken seriously, leaving him reluctant to share in the future. Moreover, telling someone they're overreacting can also create feelings of frustration, as the person who is being dismissed might start questioning their own feelings. They may wonder if they're too sensitive or whether they have a right to feel the way they do. This can lead to self-doubt and emotional isolation. A more productive approach is to acknowledge the emotions at play without dismissing them. Instead of telling him he's overreacting, try saying something like, "I can see this is really affecting you," or "Let's talk about why this feels so important." By validating his emotions, you create space for understanding, connection, and healthier communication. Everyone deserves to feel heard, and this approach will help foster a stronger emotional bond between you. When you tell a man, "I'm not like other women," It may seem like a compliment or a way of setting yourself apart, but it can inadvertently place unnecessary pressure on him and create unrealistic expectations. What you might intend as a way of saying you're unique or different can come across as a comparison to an entire gender, which isn't fair to him. It suggests that all women are a certain way, and by implying that you're different, it may unintentionally label him as someone who has been hurt or disappointed by women in the past. This comment can also set the stage for misunderstanding. It creates the expectation that you are somehow above or outside of typical behaviors, but relationships thrive on authenticity, not on trying to be something you're not. Instead of framing your individuality in opposition to others, it's more helpful to communicate how you are unique in your own right without creating a dichotomy between you and other women. Men don't need to feel like they're constantly comparing you to past experiences or generalizing you based on gender expectations. Additionally, by saying this, it can make him feel like there's a right way to behave or that there's something inherently wrong with other women. It unintentionally places a sense of judgment on others and might make him feel like you're evaluating him through a skewed lens. Rather than focusing on this comparison, it's more constructive to share your unique qualities in a way that highlights the positive aspects of who you are, without creating unnecessary divisions. Ultimately, it's important to remember that a healthy relationship doesn't rely on establishing differences between genders, but on mutual respect and understanding. Celebrating your individuality without comparisons fosters a stronger and more genuine connection. Telling a man, "You should just know what I need," places an unfair burden on him and assumes that he can intuitively understand your desires without clear communication. Relationships thrive on open dialogue, and this statement implies that he should somehow anticipate your needs, which can lead to frustration on both sides. No one can read minds, and expecting someone to do so creates unnecessary tension and disappointment. When you expect him to know what you need without saying it outright, it can make him feel like he's failing to meet your expectations, even if he's trying his best. The reality is that everyone expresses their needs differently, and men, like women, often rely on direct communication to understand what's wanted or required. When you don't communicate clearly, it leaves him in the dark, causing confusion and potentially causing him to second-guess his actions. He may try to guess what you want or need, but those guesses may not align with your expectations, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy or frustration on his part. Instead of assuming he should know, it's much more effective to openly express your needs and desires. A simple, honest conversation can clear up misunderstandings and foster a sense of mutual respect. When you articulate what you need from him, it not only helps him meet your expectations, but also shows that you value and respect his efforts. It takes the guesswork out of the equation, and it strengthens your ability to work as a team. Ultimately, building a relationship based on clear communication is key. Instead of leaving him to figure it out on his own, make space for honest conversations where both of you can share what you need. This ensures that you both feel heard, valued, and supported, creating a healthier, more fulfilling connection. In conclusion, communication is the cornerstone of any strong relationship, and the words we use can have a lasting impact on the people we care about. The phrases we've discussed today, whether intentionally or unintentionally, can undermine a man's sense of self, diminish his efforts, or create emotional distance between you. It's important to remember that our words should empower, validate, and strengthen the connection we share with others, not tear it down. By being mindful of the language we use, we foster an environment of respect and understanding where both parties feel valued and heard. Instead of making sweeping judgments or placing unrealistic expectations, let's aim to communicate with empathy, clarity, and appreciation. Every relationship thrives when both people feel accepted for who they are, free from the weight of hurtful comments or unrealistic demands. So, let's remember words matter. How we speak to one another shapes the way we experience our relationships and ultimately our connection with the ones we love. Let's choose our words with care, knowing that the way we speak to each other can either build us up or tear us down. Together, let's create conversations that bring us closer, not further apart. Thank you.